Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Premier League debate show on a Thursday, international break. It is what it is, but we're here to entertain you for the next hour or so. So let's hopefully bring you a good episode where we can, amicably talk about, football, but it doesn't end that way when you've got different rivals and different people on here. But how are we all doing, boys? Everyone enjoying the sunshine? Hot?
Well, was that a selective use of the word amicably this week
Yeah.
because of the result last weekend?
Well, it's one of them. Last week. You can't fault
Let's all
them,
play
man.
nice this week because
Yeah, let's all play nice, We're all families, we're all friends, I mean, we're part of the football community. We like to have that, that spirit needs to be within us. But
I don't think
How are you,
Leeds buying. I don't think Leeds buying any of that. I'm good. I'm
Yes.
hot, man. I'm hot. I've just got home from work, but it's hot.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
But I'm English,
No,
so I
big
will
up to you,
complain.
Charlie. Charlie,
Yeah.
you're with me. I think the feeling international break when you lose a game and you kind of have to think about it for 2 weeks. But yeah, how are you, mate, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me on as always. Yeah, mate, not bad. To be fair, it's only been 4 games, but I'm almost glad for a little break from Chelsea. Things haven't been too great on the pitch, so yeah, we have a little reset, get some players back from injury, and then go again next weekend, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pete, you're with us as well. I think probably you feel the worst out of the 6 of us. But you've lost 3 games on the bounce. But how are you, mate? International break. How's it doing for you?
I'll be honest, I'm loving life. We needed this break, man. We needed this break. I would have feared if we'd have gone in straight in to Brentford at home after certainly after last weekend. But the other two we've talked about before, but I'm sure we'll get onto the Brighton game. Yeah, it was shocking.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, man, Sean, you're living the life, man. You know what I mean? It's 10 wins out of 12. You're laughing, mate. I'm telling you, man. Tottenham, they're my favourites to win the league, man. But what are you saying, Sean?
Well, you're trying to tempt me. You're trying to tempt me into a clip, and it's not happening. I'm keeping my feet firmly on the ground. I'm enjoying the phoenix rising from the flames, but it's early days. We've got some tough tests to come against the man next to me this way in a couple of weeks. Sheffield United first, and then after that, also we're going to wait and see. After that, then maybe we'll reassess. But I'm good. Thanks for having me as always, Saeed. It's good to see you and everyone in the comments in the chat. Big up to everybody.
Yeah, man. And we've got Lee, man, probably still celebrating after that win, but it is what it is. How you doing, Lee, man? You feeling all right?
This bottle ain't full of anything but certain people's tears. People be crying about offsides and people being apparently wrestled in the box. But you know what happens, man. People just can't take a normal loss against a better team normally. So life is good, man. Life is good.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. It's good. Big up to everybody who's here. Make sure you guys smash the like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Subscribe to everyone's channels. Links are in the description below. Get their numbers up as well. But Man City, are they going to run away with the Premier League? 4 wins out of 4 DAPs. Looking good when I don't think you've been playing well, to be honest with you. But that's what winning teams do. I remember Man United back in the day. I know it is back in the day, but 10 years ago, we'd be grinding out wins and we'd be just winning games. But Man City, positive start. How's your feeling for us this season and just in general when you look at the start you've had, 4 wins out of 4, the only team that's done that this season?
I'm happy with the start because that's not the start that we usually do. Like, I think the only time we start probably is the 100-point season. We started well. Apart from that, we don't usually start like this. We have had, most are coming back now. We did have some injuries as well going into the start of the season. Didn't help. We had Community Shield, had the shortest break, Community Shield, Super Cup, so we played 2 games. Apart from Arsenal, we played 2 games more than everyone else as well. One of them in 30 degrees. So for me, I'm kind of, and you're right, by the way, I'm not going to, there's performances. Burnley, I do think with Burnley and Sheffield United, some people go, newly promoted, but both of them are away from home, and you don't want to go away from home against newly promoted teams because their fans are up for it more than usual. So for me to get 3 points against both of them, I thought at the time when we played Newcastle, that was going to be one of our toughest games of the season because they were looking good. It was off the back of the Villa game for them, and we had quite a few injuries. Again, we didn't blow them away, but Pep was smart enough to outsmart Howe, get it done. And then I'll be honest, against Fulham at the weekend, just before half time, I was messaging Cass and saying, not gonna lie, bro, this game reminds me of Everton and Brentford last year at home. The atmosphere in the ground was a bit flat. It's what it is. And I mean, look, I think most of us would know some home games of Arsenal, City, United, probably Newcastle, when you're up against teams that you think you should beat, the atmosphere is not the same as when you're facing an Arsenal or a Man United. I said, but this is the difference. Arsenal had Fulham last week at home. We just have to get the job done. Second half, we came out, looked a lot better, but it's not a performance at the end of the season I'm going to write home about or nothing. But we got 3 points going into the international break. The biggest challenge is, I saw someone comment this as well. Straight after the international break, we've got West Ham away, and that's a perfect test for us. That is the test. I'm happy. For me, I think we're going to win the league. I'm very confident we're going to win the league. And that's based on kind of looking at the two teams that I believe will be rivals, just not thinking they did quite enough defensively in strengthening. Because I think Arsenal and Liverpool both score goals, but I just think defensively, we're probably like that. Vardy signing for me is, if Diaz gets injured, usually you've got that one centre-back that if they get injured, it's like, oh, what's going to happen? Like last season, Diaz got injured. We saw when Diaz was injured. With Vardy, it's kind of like, right, if Diaz gets injured now, we've got Vardy to come in. We've got Ake still there, Akanji, Stones. I think defensively we're so strong. I think that's what's gonna be the difference when it gets to like November. I mean, obviously Tottenham could challenge, right? Tottenham 1 game a week and that it could be them.
So I'm saying,
I'm happy with the start, bro.
Why are you saying that, Daps? Why are you saying that?
Oh, banter, purely banter, 100%, bro.
Okay. Yeah, so who is the challenge? Where's the challenge coming from?
Arsenal and Liverpool. I personally think more from Arsenal than Liverpool, and that's based on the fact that I think Liverpool had one of the best windows for 8s I think I've ever seen. Right, they've got some amazing midfielders.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
They've gone and kind of like, I always think the one player Liverpool missed more than Mane is Wijnaldum, right? And they've gone and got some engines in there again, but defensively they didn't strengthen. We know defensively they get injuries, they pick up injuries, and defensively they're just not that good as well, let's be honest. And then the other thing is, if you look back to Klopp's first season at Liverpool, they picked up a lot of muscular injuries because their midfielders they're not used to playing this Klopp style of football, which is so intense. And I think they've got 3 new 8s.
Inhalers, they'll be fine in a couple
maybe they'll get them back. It's one of them things where I think, and Hassam said on the stream the other day that he described it that, I can't remember the word he used, but basically that maybe they're not focusing on having a 6. It's more about having 8s that are all going to put a shift in. Now, if he expects all his 8s to put a shift in, right, in the first season playing that style of football, I think they're going to get burnt out. They're going to get tired, potentially some muscular injuries. And I think that'll be the drop-off. I think we won't see Liverpool. I think Liverpool will keep winning for a while. But I think come November, December time, it's going to come on top of them. And then I think Arsenal.
Yeah. I think you said that. I could not agree more.
And with Arsenal, I just think the one thing that still baffles me to this point, I think Troops actually said it on Never a Foul earlier on, is with Timber, I would have put Timber, based on what I saw and the fact he could play left, right, and central, I would have put him as one of the best signings of the summer. Right?
I agree.
But he got injured. And when he got injured, I was thinking, they've got, like, Arteta has to go, guys, we've got to go and replace him, whether it be on a year loan or whatever it is, we have to go and replace him. They went and let Tierney go. Now Partey's injured. Now, we don't know how long for. And I'm interested to hear Lee's take on the Partey injury, because last year, I remember once or twice where there seemed to be a little bit of a, like, I really remember the Saliba one when he got injured and everyone's going, it's only a couple of weeks. Lee was one of the first to come out and go, it's not. They're not telling no one what it is because it's going to be longer. And I just think with Arsenal, at the end of the season, they might look back at that transfer window and think, why didn't we get one more defender? Because especially letting Tierney go on loan, I think was crazy when they just had...
Also, Yeah, no, sorry to cut you off there. I think also we got to talk about mentally, man. Are Arsenal mentally ready? Liverpool, they've got the mentality monsters. I know Errol would have been here. Shout out to Errol, he couldn't make it today because it's his son's birthday. Big up to Errol. But I think for me, have Arsenal got the mental edge? When it mattered the most, Arteta has fumbled with either man management or I would
So
say
far, Rice is showing it though, right? So far, Rice is showing that he's brought a bit mentality.
Yeah, he has bought it, but again, that's not one player. One player doesn't do that. It's multiple players, in that regards. Are you going to say something there, Pete? Or because
I agree with that. I was going to mention about Timber because if I'm right in thinking, the year before that, you were very close to signing him, weren't you, Man United? So
yeah, we were.
I'm thinking
from
your point of view,
Martinez
he's injured now, so it's hard to kind of judge it. But are you kind of kicking yourself, Saeed, that you didn't get that deal done and Arsenal did a year later?
No, because I'm happy we got Martinez, and ultimately, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm still having Martinez over Timber. That's just the way I kind of look at it. But again, the versatility of Timber, why not get both? Because we probably need him at right back. We probably need him to play in the 6. He can play left back as well. So why not get both? And that's me being greedy. But ultimately, I think one injury, yes, they needed to get more strength in depth. But I also think the mental edge that Man City have got, people don't talk about that, man. The fact that they win games. Game after game. Like that 1-0 against Newcastle. Do you reckon Arsenal do that? Maybe last year I think they drew. Did you drew, Lee, in that game against Newcastle, or did you win that game?
We drew 1-1 at home. Sorry, 0-0 at home, and we beat them 2-0 away.
Yeah,
that one at home, bro. For me, honest, that one at home against Newcastle for me was Pep. Like that game in particular, because I think that was Pep. Honestly, I think Pep was so smart. The way he played Walker was in such a weird position. He was kind of sitting himself halfway up the pitch. Whenever he got the ball, he wasn't doing anything with it. It was almost like he was there just to give Newcastle a lot to think about. The way he played Alvarez and Foden both behind Haaland, it was almost like we know Newcastle can be a threat attacking, so let's give them so much to think about defensively that they forget to attack. And that is pretty much what it was, that they just, Newcastle, it wasn't that we looked good, it's just that Newcastle looked like they literally forgot how to attack. They just were so bothered about trying to defend. And I think that was Pep. But the mentality thing, I mean, I don't even speak on it anymore because I think it's too obvious to talk on. Of course, we've, if you look at how we won the treble last season, like the pressure of, everyone was telling us we won't win the Champions League, but I felt the pressure when I went over their side. I was thinking, like, what if we don't win it? No one says you have to lose 2 finals to win one. And then even the final against you lot, having to beat United in an FA Cup final to keep the treble on. And then all of that. And for the players we didn't look amazing against Inter Milan in the final, but it was just that, no, we have to win this. And that's the thing. Look, and I'll be honest, with Rice so far, he's helping Arsenal with that. Like, because that's the reason I don't think Arsenal won the league. I don't think I've always said they're like a team whose balls haven't dropped yet. They haven't got like the experience, and they're still adolescent. And will their balls drop this season? So far, like, Rice has come in and that score, all right, it was just scoring a goal, but that's important. He's come in and he's scored a goal in the dying minutes. That's what I praise Rodri for doing. So we got to give Rice the same credit, but we'll see. It's a long season, isn't it? Long season.
Let me hear Lee's point of view. You know what I mean? Like I said, you guys are the pretenders, the guys that are willing to challenge us, whatever you want to call it. Challengers, pretenders, you're there, in it. But do you think this year you've got the edge? Over them, or do you still believe in just in general Arsenal, or blind faith in that kind of way?
Do you know what? Listen, I think about 5 weeks ago when we first started these shows, I said that I thought Arsenal would be very, very close, and I thought we would just maybe pip Man City. Listen, I'm a big man. I can come in here and say if I think I'm wrong, and I don't necessarily think I'm wrong, but I will say Man City do look very good. I do think they look very good. And the thing what I like about Man City is it's not just the winning, it's the control. And what I like about Man City is they're not emotional games. They're beating teams and they're doing it quite calmly. And with Arsenal, what we're doing is we're going life and death with Fulham, We're going life and death with Man United, who I don't think are great. We're going life and death with a Nottingham Forest. So it's not just the physical, but it's the emotional side. And listen, even Tottenham, dare I say, they're doing it quite comfortably. So that's why I think you have to give them more comfortability. So that's why I'm more impressed with those teams. But there's also another side to it. And listen, it's a shame Errol's not here. Happy birthday to his son. I don't know his son, but happy birthday to his son. Listen, about 4 weeks ago, I came on here and I gave a lot of questions to Klopp. And I'll be honest with you, Liverpool scare me. I have to be honest with you. Liverpool scare me. I think Liverpool need a lot more credence. I think Liverpool, what they're doing, their attack is absolutely lethal. And what I'm liking is they have that character. And I like the fact that they have it all together. I think Liverpool are one to be where I don't think Liverpool will drop off the way that people do. I don't think their defense is as bad as people make out. So I definitely think Liverpool are one to worry. And I think, look, I put Arsenal to finish first, maybe close second. I don't think it's as far-fetched for Arsenal to finish third with Liverpool. I really, really don't. I think they're that good. So I'm definitely, Errol, if you are going to watch, or if you know, I hold my hands up to you because he looked really good.
Is it early sample size though? I get it, Man City, but it's a sample size small for you though to be like, I worry about them.
No, listen, it is. But what I'm on, you know what? You can only go. Football's all about, for me, what have you done for me lately? All I can go off is what I'm seeing. Now, yesterday, I think it was, I believe, or 2 days ago. I know we're kind of deviating from. I saw my good friend, my brother, Kaz, put Man United to finish second, and I'm just like, what
second? No way he said that.
What are you?
Oh yeah, Bo. So he went from.
What are you?
That means you're in a title race, man. That means you're in a title race.
Because trolling. Look, he's my brother. He's been my guy for a couple years now. And I watch Never a Foul. Like I love to have it on, like in the background. And I was watching their little prediction show for the table, and he put and he's justification. I just don't get it. I don't get. And what he does is, it takes away from everything. They're such a prestigious, great channel, and he just, I don't know. But listen,
he gets excited, man. He gets giddy. That's what you say. He gets giddy.
I will say, look, from the Arsenal side of things, I will say, look, Arsenal. I definitely think people are underplaying how good we are. And listen, I think the difference between Liverpool, Newcastle, all of these teams is one thing and one thing only, and it is Declan Rice. Listen, the guy is absolutely amazing. Saeed, you got a taste of it on Sunday. I think the fact that he can he can play different positions, the way he drives the ball forward. I think the fact that he never gives up. It's all encompassing, and we're doing this without a seasoned Saka right now. Saka only gets better throughout the season. Martinelli, he only going to get better throughout the season. This formation is only going to get better. So that's why I think it's hard for us to really look at Arsenal and have any real judgment, because I think for Arsenal, we're bubbling and we're bubbling in the right direction. I think that last minute goal, that's what Arsenal do now. We don't give up. So you talk about mentality. Our mentality is never give up. Okay, we didn't beat Southampton, but we kept going when we were 3-1 down. You talk about the West Ham, so we do keep going, and we're trying to create that kind of siege mentality. So listen, there are so many good things about Arsenal. There are equally so many good things about Liverpool. As I said, I have to hold my hands up and say the way that Man City are cooking, the way that Liverpool, I think, are really cooking, and I think Arsenal are doing some really nice things. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, man. And I'm definitely, feeling confident. I don't think that Arsenal are pretenders. I don't think Arsenal are gonna just be in the background. I don't think that at all. So we're gonna see, man. It's gonna see.
Lee, do you reckon you can overcome that mentality though? Because Arsenal always have that tag of like, when it really matters, they kind of crumble. Do you think now with signings like Rice, that leadership in there and that, do you think that can make a big difference? Because for me, Arsenal play great football. They've had a good transfer window, I think. But when I always had that doubt with Arsenal, when it really matters, crunch end of the season, difficult games, big moments, can they actually get over the line? Do you reckon they've got that in them now? Because it's always been something that Arsenal have always just fell short when it matters most.
Yeah, listen, I think that's a fair point. And you know what? It's hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have all the answers, because I don't. I haven't seen us in the Champions League and maybe get to. My prediction is to get to at least a quarterfinal. So I can't say, look, we've been there and last season, because everybody knows we came out of all the competitions to try and focus on this one competition. So I don't know how Arsenal are going to react to it. I think, genuinely speaking, hand on my heart, I think Arsenal players will be quite looking forward to the fact of the challenge, because I just don't see these players being bottlers. I just think more so, and again, people are going to think it's excuses. I just think we ran out of steam. I think that the mental fortitude of Man City winning game after game after game after game, it just told an Arsenal fans, players, sorry, and it was draining.
And that was in one game a week.
Exactly.
Was it one?
You know
you played the Europa League, actually, to be fair. But still, it's Champions League now.
I think that's the thing, though. That's the thing for me.
And listen, I was going to say, shout out to Big Steve. I don't know him, and Dax as well. The both of you has been saying for the last 3 years. It's not even just it's the constant, like you almost just want the season to get done at the end of it, because it's a drag. You got to go to this game, you got to go to that game, you got to get ready for it, and it never stops. And I think with Arsenal, they literally just the players, they just couldn't hold on. I don't think they bottled it. I just think they were literally just drawn.
Do you know what? So there's a physically one of Pep's fitness team did a lecture in the summer, and someone sent me a clip of it, and he was talking about this narrative about that if you have more rest, it's better for your body. And he was like, that's not true, for starters. But also, I think mentally, right, if you're not having, and if you're winning every game, right, to have 4 days off, 5 days off in between, that's fine, right? And especially if you've got a massive lead, but if it's getting tight, right, you draw a game and you have to wait 5 days to play your next game, and in those 5 days you happen to turn on the TV and see your rival beating Real Madrid 4-0, right?
Mate, there's so much more to it than just your physical
mentally. Man, that's not good, and that's the thing that is
you have to prepare for the next game. It depends on who you're playing. There's so much more. There's more to it than just whether or not your body can repair in 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days. It's about
also game management as well. I think game management.
How different the previous opponent was to the next opponent. There's far more to it than
When you think about it as well, right? It's even like right now. You just take, for example, this last game week. Man United have lost. What? Okay, you lost to Arsenal, but the issue is, it's not the fact you lost. It's that you got 2 weeks to wait. And now with Arsenal, when we dropped points last season, we had to wait another 7 days. Exactly. We had to wait another 6 days. So right now, I think even if Arsenal lose a game, you dust yourself down and you go, because you're going to play another 3 days in 3 days. Sorry. So I think, and that's the problem I think that Spurs will have. I think, it's an advantage, but I think the disadvantage is because you've got nothing else during the week, you're festering on that. And then if you don't win the next game, it then becomes a damn, we're slipping away. But I don't think that Spurs are in a bad position. I just think it can have a positive
play on you.
I think as well, it's relevant. Go on, Sean.
All summer, all I've heard is the complexities, the challenges for teams like Newcastle, the challenges for teams like Brighton and Aston Villa, on how they're going to kick on, because they've now got to suffer 2 games a week. And now I'm hearing from you guys that actually it's a benefit to be playing 2 games a week, and teams that are playing 1 game a week.
No, I'm talking about the end of the season.
End of the season, not now.
I'm talking about the end of the season.
To lose a game, they have to wait 7 days to put.
No, I'm talking about the end of the season, not now. I'm not talking about.
I think it's as well. It's all relevant to where it is, because like I also think experience, for example, like last season, you've got to remember it was quite a young Arsenal squad, and I always remember when Steve went round and, said the thing on AFTV that he said, that night he messaged me and he said, Daps, he said, you might not know our role, but our role, is to keep our feet on the neck of every single Arsenal fan, because trust me, not all, but some of these players watch social media. And there's another thing, like I've seen things where certain players have ordered clothes off of websites, right, while they're sat in their hotel room on like a Wednesday evening because they can't go out and stuff like that. They do search. They do see what's happening. Now, if they're not all players, but some, if they lose or drop points, then they've got 4 or 5 days to wait till they get to play again. They're on their social media. They're seeing their whole fan base have a complete meltdown, thinking, "Oh shit!" These lot straight away they're going into the game worrying, thinking.
Such a nuanced argument. It depends on the individual.
100%, Sean. I agree.
With the system, like Tottenham, for example, right now are going to be the beneficiary of having 7 days between every game, because the Tottenham players don't necessarily understand Ange ball quite as well as teams that are more familiar. So having the extra 4 or 5 days, so to sit there and try and make excuses and say there's actually there's a benefit to playing twice a week and a detriment to playing 1 game a week, I think that's just.
Let me ask.
It's silly.
Because obviously I've got Newcastle fan and obviously Chelsea fan, but Chelsea's got a similar situation of they've got so many players, so they probably need competitions to play in these. So 1 week you can play these in the Europa League because the amount of players that they've got, they need one player to play in that competition. So you probably need it, Charlie. But are you worried about the 1 game a week? Are you like happy it's there so they can learn from them? Where are you at in terms of that one?
It's kind of like sort of 2 ways of looking at it for Chelsea. Like ideally, from a player's perspective, and particularly because we've got so many young players that need time to develop, the extra games would have been really useful for that purpose. But then you could look at it like, well, we've brought in so many new players, we've got a new manager, new way of playing under Pochettino. All that extra time on the training ground is only going to be beneficial to get to know his methods, get the players to get a better understanding together. This is basically a whole new squad that don't even know each other. Like we've got a couple of senior players in Silva and Sterling and Ben Chilwell. All the rest are under 25 or 25. So like that having that extra time on the training pitch is going to be massive. I think that's a big plus for us. But ultimately, these young players need minutes to develop and they need like consistent game time. When you're playing once a week, these players aren't going to develop at the rate you want them to because they're simply not getting the minutes that they need to develop. So like it's positive for Chelsea and a negative on both sides. But maybe in the long run, it could be better for us because we can gel more and develop a better understanding. It's very hard when you're playing sort of 3 times a week. We do have a game, you do like a little warm down session, and you got a light session before playing again. Like there's not a lot of time to work on things on a pitch where we need that time. So I'm grateful for it from that perspective. But as I said, in terms of development side of things for the players that need the minutes, and we've got a lot of players that need minutes, particularly young attackers, they're not going to be able to get the minutes they need. So that 1 game a week is not ideal.
And then also you got looking at Newcastle, we're going to see now what they do with 2 games a week now. But even now they're looking like they're struggling. I'm looking at their depth and I'm like, you haven't got a lot of quality of depth as well. So then Champions League and League, are you going to suffer a result? And you guys, obviously, we'll get into your greater detail of your season, but are you worried about your squad now with 2 games a week, or are you embracing that? Because you're in the Champions League anyway, so why wouldn't you be embracing it?
Saeed, I'm embracing everything, mate. I'm looking forward to it. I'm like I say, I'm looking at our Champions League. Obviously, I'm sorry I couldn't be on last week because we were doing something.
Don't worry.
But the Champions League draw, you got Newcastle fans going, heads in hands. I'm like, yes, get in there. We've got the biggest teams, the biggest draw. Like, yeah, we might not get through. We might finish 4th. We might finish 3rd. We might finish 2nd. Who knows? But I tell you what, this is what Newcastle fans wanted. We wanted to be at the top table, in the top competition against the best teams in the world. And this is where we are. So I'm excited. I'm excited about testing ourselves 2 nights in a week, whether it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, because ultimately, when we got taken over, this is where the club wanted to be. And we're here now. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm embracing it, and I'm excited to see what Eddie Howe can do. I'm excited to see what the players can do. You mentioned about our squad. We've bolstered our squad. Maybe there's question marks from certain fans, particularly after the last couple of results, saying we might have not bolstered the squad in the right areas, and that's up for debate. But we have bolstered the squad. Our squad is probably the best it's been in a long time. We've got backup players in positions everywhere. We've got like six or seven centre midfielders to fill in 3 spots. Like, we've got players. There might not be the household names that you guys want to sign or anyone else wants to sign, but a lot of them have got us to where we are right now. And so we've got to kind of run with that. We've got Isak and Wilson up front. Yeah, you could go through the team. So I'm not worried too much about the squad. I'm worried about the character and the intensity and all the qualities that got us to 4th place last season against Brighton.
Hey, can I ask you something? And again, I've been, I know it's fine. I find it a bit strange when other clubs do it. My own club, they used to do it a couple of seasons ago. Why after every win do you do that stupid like group celebration? I just find it a bit corny. I find it a bit weird that the managers in these celebrations where he's after just one win.
They've not been doing it this season, though. They've not been doing it this season.
They have been doing it. They did it in the first game, and that's the only time they've done it because they've only won one game.
Hold on, what is it? Is it going to the fans or is it more than that?
No. In the changing room, they will go to the changing room and they take like they're obviously celebrating, and they take they take these pictures, or they take a picture of a group of them where they're just celebrating the fact they've won. But I just think, look, like it's one game. One game's not going to make you. It's not going to break you. So after your end of season festivities and you're celebrating, you then need to move on to this to a new season where you change the mindset. And I just think, for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, and again, I like Newcastle. I want Newcastle to do well, but I just don't get that. I don't get why.
Won't be much longer he likes them. No. When they win the trophy, it'll change.
Honestly,
all the things you want to pick at, all the things you want to ask Pete about Newcastle start of the season, you're going to ask about their
celebration.
I think that plays into the. It can play into the whole thing where, like, all right, when it's all going rosy, you're taking these pictures, but where are you when the chips are down? Like, I know you're not going to celebrate, or you're not going to have a happy face when you're losing, but it's not about me policing anyone's celebration, because I don't like it when Richard Keys does it to Arsenal or anyone else. I just don't get why after every win you have to do this weird thing. I don't get it. But
honestly, I'll give a little bit of context to it. Eddie Howe didn't actually want it to happen, and he wasn't particularly keen on it. But what it was is, particularly in the season where we were trying to stay in the league, it was building that togetherness within the squad. So when we were picking up those results, like the togetherness, and almost it was the players. The players wanted to show the fans that we're together and we're fighting.
Together, that's true.
And what it's done, it's just manifested into doing it every week. Now, Eddie Howe's already openly said it in press conferences. Like, he's not necessarily for it. He doesn't necessarily want it to happen. However, like, I know other fans, opposition fans, don't like it. The Newcastle fans fucking love it.
Yeah, it's like, listen, it's like that club fist pump. I can't stand it.
The media team, it's kind of like the media team. It's kind of like snowballed, because the fans are loving it, and it gets such a positive reaction from the club's fans. They've just continued it on. I think if it didn't get the sort of traction from the fans as it has done, they'd have stopped. But a lot of opposition fans, they seem to hate it. They seem to get really annoyed by it.
It's not about hating it. I just think that's what a small club would do. I just think that's what like you do a giant killing in the FA Cup. That's what you would do. You wouldn't do it after just one Premier League game. I just think
it's not for anybody else. It's not for anybody else. It's literally for the club's fans. It's literally for us. It's not for anybody else. If other people, other club fans want to comment on it, and plenty do, that's up to them. But literally, that result and that togetherness and showing that they're a unit and they're together and they're fighting is purely, they put it out there purely for the fans. That's it. But like I said, Eddie Howe didn't necessarily want to kind of keep it going.
I just want to ask something quickly on Newcastle, mate. Like, I think the business has been all right, but from my point of view, I look at Newcastle, I think they've improved the squad, but have you improved the starting 11 enough from last season to juggle the Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, all that thing? Do you think you've improved this 11 enough? I know Tonali goes in and improves that 11, but all round, do you think that starting 11's improved enough from last season? I think the squad's better and there's better options, but is the 11 any better? That would be my one concern.
Honestly, Charlie, I think it's a great question. I think in the last week, a lot of Newcastle fans have been asking that question. It was obvious we needed a number 6, and I think a lot of fans thought, because he's played there before, that Tonali would be that number 6, but he's coming straight as a number 8. Now, what's kind of transpired after that is that Bruno has been, he can't play the number 6. He can play there, but in certain games, he vacates that position, which has been exploited by Foden, which has been exploited by the likes of Jota, Salah against Liverpool. It got exploited again by Ferguson at the weekend and João Pedro, and he vacates that space. And we need to have someone. I've said it for at least 8-9 months. We need a ball breaker. God bless his soul, someone like a Chet Tiote that's just a ball breaker, someone that breaks things up, stops people from playing, and allows your 2 number 8s, your Joe Linton and your Tonali, or your Joe Linton and your Bruno, to go do the business. For me, that's what I think we need. That's just my opinion on that. However, look, I personally think that there was a kind of a decision that needed to be made. Do we bolster the squad this summer, or do we get 1, 2, maybe 3 players in key positions and spend a lot of money on those players? And I think they've gone with the squad because I think they want to be competitive in all 4 competitions. Now, I personally think Harvey Barnes is a starter. I don't see him being on the bench for very long, personally.
Wow. I think
over
Gordon.
Over Gordon's been good.
Gordon's been playing well.
8 million for a player, and he's not started a game for us yet. So
hold on, but how much you pay for Anthony Gordon?
It's like 45.
50 odd.
40 million.
And they play the same
million,
position,
okay.
right? And they play the same position.
No, Anthony Gordon,
He did depth,
played all of his football for Everton on the right-hand side.
So you think they might switch?
I think at some point, Anthony Gordon may switch to the right, Miggy comes out, and Barnes comes to the left. And I think
goes
that's the question.
Barnes will play regular football. So you've got then Tonali and Barnes, but then they've looked to the future. And for me, I honestly think Lewis Hall, I don't know what you think, Charlie. Lewis Hall should be starting for Newcastle now. He's our best left club, and I fully expect him to be starting against Brentford in our next game.
I mean, Dan Burn's been exposed a little bit, hasn't he?
Massively,
yeah.
Whether it's centre back,
Botman's out injured as well.
He should be. Lewis Hall should be, for what he gives, his output. He should be starting for us 110%.
Do you think you signed him to play left back? Because he's actually a midfield player, but I mean, obviously
he's a midfield player by trade.
Yeah, but he does. He
ain't going to play there, is he?
He's probably
Eddie Howe loves his players to be versatile. Every player he signed them because they can play more than one position. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Tino Livramento came on against Man City and played right wing because he can play there. He's traditionally a right back. So it wouldn't surprise me if Lewis Hall at some point plays left wing or inside. Fans have been saying he can play as a number 6 because he can play in the middle. He's going to play in a number of different positions for sure. And the fact that he's been training with the England first team says that England look at him and rate him as a player.
Look at him, I want to ask the question, right? I want to ask the question, and obviously maybe I'll put this to Sean first. There's a lot of people that are looking at Eddie Howe and they're saying to themselves, you know what, he's done a great first season. He's got a lot of credit in the bank, but where's the next step for Newcastle? I personally, for me, still think he should stay on as manager and whatnot. But if the pressure mounts and he doesn't get Newcastle to that next step, is his position under scrutiny? Should it be looked at in that regard? Or do you think he could take it to the next level? Because a lot of people are on social media you know what, Eddie Howe, man, get rid of him, go and get a Mourinho, go and get someone who's can take the club to the next level, maybe. But again, this
Mourinho and Sean can vouch for this. Jose Mourinho didn't take Tottenham any further.
But there you go.
And he had
that's what I'm saying.
He had a fair amount of money to play with that.
But that's what I think.
You got some of these managers
got credit in the bank.
Some of these managers bouncing around have got credentials because they've won trophies and titles in the past. That's great. But for me, I couldn't think of anything better than an English manager in Eddie Howe taking us to the top. And I think the owners feel that way as well. And I genuinely think that they are going to give Eddie Howe as much time and as much resources as they possibly can to allow him to be successful. Don't sleep on the fact that the Adidas deal has been announced. So next season, they're going to be our manufacturers, and we're going to go from 7.5 million a year from Pastore to multi millions. I think the deal has been signed for hundreds of millions over a number of years. Deal. That's a massive deal for Newcastle, and that then allows us to be not at the level of that traditional top 6, but we're certainly going to be competing with them financially. And it's not about money for us in terms of what have we got in the accounts. We know we've got the money to spend, but it's about FFP and those deals allowing us to be able to push the boundaries a little bit more. And I genuinely believe that if Newcastle can go back-to-back European seasons wherever that European season lies, whether it's 7th, 6th, 5th, remember 5th might get Champions League this season. If we finish in a European spot, I think we massively kick on again next season.
Well, what do you think, Sean? Obviously, Eddie Howe's got credit in the bank, but do you believe his position shouldn't be under scrutiny, or do you think the next challenge should be, get better and whatnot? Where are you on Newcastle and Eddie Howe?
Oh, he's on mute.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Sean. You're on mute.
Sorry, guys. I personally think that Eddie Howe outperformed last year. I think Newcastle generally they were miles ahead of expectations. And unfortunately, I think that Newcastle as a club, once you hit, it's just human nature. Once you hit the dizzy heights, people generally start to reset expectations. I'm not sure if Newcastle fans have got ahead of themselves. I don't think that they necessarily have from what I've seen. But I do think that the ownership, I mean, I don't know the ownership too well, but I do know, from what I've gathered, the ownership of the sort of people that obviously want the very best from their return on investments. And so I don't think there's any pressure. There shouldn't be any pressure. If the right outcomes materialize here, there shouldn't be any pressure on Eddie Howe. He's done a phenomenal job. He shouldn't be punished for jumping ahead of expectations too soon and then landing back when gravity takes hold. And this year it's going to be a challenge for Newcastle. I personally think that with the absence, the Liverpool game when away from home, the Liverpool game at home, there was poor decision making that could have and should have otherwise seen a better and different outcome for Newcastle. But apart from that, I think they've had a fairly tough start, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. And I think that this year they'll regress back to the mean for where they are, which is somewhere amongst the also rans. You got Manchester City that for me are going to win the league by a canter. They're going to win it without getting out of third gear. I think that you've got Arsenal and Liverpool that are probably going to come second or third. And I think that everybody else, I think you've got Tottenham, Manchester United, Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, that sort of
right. They're in one circle. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's going to be negligible difference. It's going to be points here or there that are going to make up the difference. And Newcastle might end up finishing 4th or 5th. They might end up finishing 8th or 9th. But in any event, that shouldn't detract from what Eddie Howe did last year. You've got to factor in new variables. You've got the expectation of the Champions League. I don't know what your expectations are, Pete, but I think that everything goes well, you could sneak a second, but you should be aiming for third. Maybe the Europa League is a decent landing pod. Either way, it's going to be a distraction that you should probably hope that continues all the way through until February or March at least. And so I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I don't think that Eddie Howe should be punished for outperforming last year. If you sack him, who do you go to? To Saeed's question, do you go and get an Antonio Conte? Do you go and get a Mourinho? Don't do it. Newcastle.
Well, Simeone.
Don't do that either. Newcastle fans like aggressive, attractive football.
Agreed, Bill. Agreed.
You would do it like Newcastle and Tottenham aren't that different. You're not that different. Your expectations are not like you. Tottenham fans don't necessarily think that we're capable of doing that. Newcastle fans don't, but you like to see good, attractive football, and you hope to get back to a level where you can, be a participant in the conversation.
I think
Zidane. What about Zidane?
Hold on.
Or Mourinho. But 1 second, Daps, I'm almost finished.
Are you telling me they will say no to Zidane? Pete, are you telling me you'll say no to Zidane?
Zidane ball is.
Let's talk. I'll answer it in a minute.
Don't sacrifice your morals for a big name that plays defensive football.
And I was just going to say this. I was just going to say this. Yeah, this is the one thing with Tottenham that when they got Mourinho, that with a lot of Tottenham fans are rated. And this is Tottenham, who everyone says they've been starved of trophies, right? But when they got Mourinho, they were kind of like, we're not willing to sell our soul and have shite football just to pick up a Carabao Cup or something. We don't want it. And right, but at the same time, there's
no but. I've never seen Tottenham fans as excited in the 30.
Agreed. I agree, bro. I agree.
We're playing better ball in the first 4 games of Anfield than we did including
that's
But
Sean,
Mourinho, you played
hold on,
football.
Sean,
You
but
played
hold on.
football under Mourinho for the start of the
I've never
season.
heard someone-
You beat a 6-1.
No, we never played.
Sean,
Come on, man.
can I just say from a business can I just say from an owner's point of view, I hear it. That's why I said I commend the way that
might have other expectations.
And the owners might be like, do you know what? Because I honestly, what I was going to say is to win your first league, especially to go from where they were to where they are, playing attractive football, attacking football is hard. Yeah, I'm telling you as a City fan, right? Our most defensive team was the first team that won the Premier League under Mancini. Yeah, that to win your first, sometimes you have to be so good at the back. Now, that's where Eddie Howe is actually getting it right, because there have been, all right, not the start of this season, but last season, Newcastle were good at the back, but then were good going forward as well. So it's just at what point do the owners go, do you know what, let's just bring in someone like Simeone, someone like
that's going to be
Mourinho.
The worst thing they can do. It's going to be the worst.
I hear it. I do hear it.
Thing they can do. Stick to if you're going to change. I don't think Eddie Howe's done anything wrong apart from
No, I don't think he has.
Expectations too soon, right? If he finished,
I don't think he has.
7th last year, if you guys finished 6th last year, you'd have been delighted. The fact that you finished 4th, the expectations of the owners might have changed, and that could be a problem, and that's something you guys are going to have to deal with. But if you do what Tottenham did and pivot too quickly, pivot too soon, then it will be to your detriment. Don't do it.
It seems like every other kind of like lots of fans from other clubs want to see Howe out and another big manager come in. No Newcastle fan saying that. No Newcastle fan is even like.
I think you're right. You're right in that regard.
Up until the last 2 weeks, Newcastle fans haven't even questioned Eddie Howe in anything that he's done. They've questioned the last couple of weeks his subs that he made against Liverpool and the decisions he's made against Brighton. Like but fans are allowed to do that. Like nobody,
of course,
even question.
And managers can have nobody would once in a while, right? But you put up Eddie Howe's mistake against Liverpool versus the 38 games of last season where he got it right at 90% of the time. You're gonna hang him out to dry. Not you, not Newcastle fans, but like the media, whoever's.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Exactly. The guy should not be punished for his overachievements. It's crazy.
I agree, but to answer Saeed's question about Zidane, I think it's Antos Army put a comment in the chat, and I think he was absolutely right. Like Zidane's only ever done it at Real Madrid. And Real Madrid at the time, were one of the best squads, assembled that we've seen in the last sort of 20 years. So for me, I don't genuinely believe he's actually been tested. He's had opportunities to go to PSG. He's had opportunities to go to other big clubs around the world, Europe, and he's decided not to do it. And I think there's an element of I'm not sure that he'd be able to kind of do what he did at Real Madrid at another.
Wait, hold on, Pete. What about football heritage?
It's
What about football heritage? I thought that was
everyone.
This is a guy that's won Champions Leagues. He's won it at Real Madrid. He's done it himself. He should be able to now go to any club around the world and do it right. That's what. Let me
ask you this, Pete. Is it true that Tonali is already sad that he joined Newcastle? Is there truth to the speculation that he just doesn't enjoy Newcastle?
Rubbish. It's all rubbish. Honestly,
we'll find out next week. We'll find out next week anyway.
He loved Wetherspoons. He really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Since which player booked that restaurant for the Wetherspoon Reds restaurant for him?
Yeah, man.
But what I'll say
is that day it's been poor.
what I'll say is that AC Milan fans were livid. The media for AC Milan were livid. They were adamant he wasn't moving to Newcastle. And when he did, they were kicking off. They had narratives all over the place of why he was going to Newcastle. And so everything they touch on, if he's not smiling, if he's not doing this, if he's not doing that.
Yeah, of course.
But if you go back and you watch the images and the videos from when he was at AC Milan, he's exactly the same. There's no change in the personality.
The media, man. But it's the media, isn't it?
The Italian media, and it's the Italian fans.
Extending the question, then.
Narrative.
is there a truth? There's a lot of speculation. Do the best names, do the biggest, the continental gurus, do they really want to go and live in Newcastle? Is there a legitimacy to that question?
Well, I personally don't think so. I think that the teams, the players want to play for the best teams, because you can argue, no disrespect to Manchester, but you could argue the same. You can have the same conversation about Manchester, Rangers,
same with Liverpool as well. Like Liverpool to London,
the rest
like,
of
you
it.
can have all of them.
You can have any of the same conversation about anywhere in the north. You can have anywhere, but you look at Newcastle over the years, like entertainers, early 2000s. We had some of the best players in Europe come and play for us. It's not like we've not had those players come to Newcastle and play for Newcastle and want to be there. And actually, even the likes of David Ginola, the likes of Faustino Asprilla, the likes of, you go back through the years, all these top players never had an issue with Newcastle.
Julio El Jordio.
Huh?
Yeah.
Julio El Jordio.
Yeah, you had that movie as well, Goal. That was a legendary movie as well, man. So you've had Santiago Nunez, so it is what it is. Sanjeet says Man City will make the league farmer league because of the mediocre mentality of Newcastle and Tottenham, all just one vibe. Guys, nearly 1,000 people in here. I don't think we even hit 500 likes. Guys, don't be like this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Hit the like button. Subscribe to everybody's channels. And yeah, just support the channel. Let's get to 500 likes before we wrap up. Quickly going to touch on the underwhelmers. It's us, obviously Newcastle, but they don't really have that expectation to kind of be, great because they overachieved. But the underwhelmers are Chelsea and Manchester United. Listen, man, me and you, Charlie, it's not looking great for us, man. We've got 2 wins out of 4. You've got 1 out of 4.
Yeah,
I think 1 win, 1 draw.
Yeah, one win, mate. Beat Luton.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, mate. I mean, it's not great. Do you know what it is though? I think obviously we should have had more points on the board. 100%. No Chelsea fans are denying that we should have more points on the board from those first 4 fixtures. But for me, I'm not massively surprised that we're struggling because we've got a new manager, B, we've got virtually an entire new starting 11. We've just parachuted a whole load of inexperienced youngsters into a team and expect it to gel straight away. And in basically a year, the whole club has been completely changed from top to bottom. 1 year ago today, Tuchel was sacked, and look at all the change there's been in that 1 year. A year ago today, he was sacked after that Zagreb game. Obviously,
wow,
the day
what's
before.
changed?
A lot's changed. So, yes, we should Liverpool game. I thought we played well, but that's a big game at home. First game of the new manager's regime. The fans are going to be up for it. That one, that's a 50-50 game. West Ham away, we should have done better. We're talking fine margins here. If Enzo Fernandez scores that penalty right on halftime, I'm not saying we win that game. We probably don't lose it. And then that's looking slightly better. Luton, we win. Forest, again, that's poor. That's the only game this season, right, where I've looked at Chelsea and thought that I thought I'd transformed back to last season. There was nothing there.
Is part of the reason why you're struggling to get those points that you might otherwise deserve more than you have. Fine margins is fine. I completely agree with you, but I wonder whether or not the pressure that Todd Bowley's expenditure has laid on the heads and shoulders of a team that has an average age that's, I believe, the youngest in the Premier League. Or
we've got the youngest squad in the league, 22 and a half, and then the average age of the new signings was 20.5.
I think the other thing as well, Sean.
I wonder whether or not that it's not just about figuring out a new manager to a new system. Everyone's got to learn everyone's language, the chemistry. When you mold together 30, 40 new players, whatever, all that stuff is absolutely correct. But I also just wonder if there's an added variable, and that variable is the pressure of $1 billion spend, £1 billion pounds.
Sure. There's another pressure as well as that, though, Sean. You're spot on, especially with the language thing, because I always look at that with City and how we buy players, and there's always Fernandinho when he went last year. I was like, we're going to miss that because we got a lot of Portuguese and Brazilians that speak the same language. But the other pressure is that I think the biggest pressure at Chelsea is when you have been a club that have been so used to winning, right, for the last and as a fan base, right? And like Man United, the same. Man United, it's been hard for Man United since Fergie left because they were so used to winning, right? That the pressure becomes, and I'll be honest now with City, like if we all of a sudden go to that, it's going to be harder. When you are a team, and with Chelsea, they're used to. When Roman left, I thought, you know what, this could be good because it looks like Bowler's coming in. He's still willing to back the team, but he wants to change the way they play football. He doesn't want to go back to this pragmatic, win everything, playing what some might say is boring football. He seems to want to take the brand to a new level and entertain people with the football on the pitch as well, which is a good thing. But here's where we were speaking about before with Newcastle and with Tottenham, with certain managers that if you go for that type of manager, you almost revert that is more going to steady things up at the back, be more pragmatic. It's going to change the whole brand that Todd Bowler's going for. But Chelsea's fans are used to that. They're used to get rid of a manager. Manager comes in. It was like peaks and troughs for years with them.
100%.
And that's the pressure. And that's the thing now that, like,
Chelsea fans are okay with the volatility, but the players and the managers aren't, right?
And they want, they of course, every fan wants beautiful football, but it's that the hardest question is, as a fan base, do you want beautiful football? Or if you're used to winning, do you just want to keep winning? Like,
want to win.
And that's where the fan base is so not to,
but
like
the new generation, the now generation
process.
of Chelsea players and the now generation of Chelsea manager in Pochettino, they're not used to that expectation. And Chelsea fans are used to this volatility in results. And when it goes, when you get a trough, they're more than happy to say, "Get out. We want the next." Right?
Well,
So Pochettino and the players need to learn very quickly.
But I think with the young
short-term trends are not acceptable. You need to be on point.
And with the young players as well, these are all young kids that are coming in. And they've been like, you know, some of them have been stars in their previous teams, but these are all coming in and they're not really used to the level of pressure that's going to be on them in the Premier League and at Chelsea. Like, particularly the attackers as well. Like, the attacking end of the pitch is so important to have some players that have been there. They've got some know-how. Like, we've got Raheem Sterling, who started the season reasonably well. But other than that, we've got Mudryk, Madueke, Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, Brogues, the backup striker. Like, these are all guys that are like.
Chilwell's now one of your forwards as well.
Let's get Chilwell in there. At least he's a senior player. But like, all these guys have got to fit in somewhere, and they're all developing and they're all learning. And they're all literally learning from Sterling because there's no one else for them to learn from. I'm not saying he's a bad person to learn from, but you need a bit more. Like, realistically, in the Chelsea side, you only know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get from Sterling, and you know what you're going to get from Thiago Silva. Pretty much everyone else, you've got no idea what you've got. No idea what you're going to get from.
Can I just say though,
you're going to be better at like Nottingham Forest last season. I know that Nottingham Forest are the miniature version of you guys with the amount of But last season's Nottingham Forest, they struggled in the first 3 months, but as the season went on and that chemistry, the familiarity of the door-to-door, like everyone's, I understand you. Now I know you. Now we can communicate. The chemistry built late into the season, and Nottingham Forest finished the season strong. I wonder whether or not the same thing will happen with Chelsea. You might struggle.
All get braids. If they all get braids, they're going to become friends.
Can I just say though, like the thing is with
Lee, last point there.
Which I just think like it's just pathetic, to be fair. Like, the fact of the matter is, you had enough talent on the pitch to beat Nottingham Forest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't understand why like everyone's trying to like, oh, it's this time, give it time. You know, it's crap, it's rubbish. At the end of the day, you spent £1 billion in any walk of life, in any business. The more money you spend, the level of expectations, you want your money back, you want rewards, you want it exponentially quickly. Why? Because you're spending more and more money. So now we look at Chelsea. They're crying. They don't want this. They want that. You had enough talent to beat Nottingham Forest, who are actually, okay, fine. On paper, they may not look good or whatever it is, but they're actually a half-decent squad. Yeah. But ultimately, you were giving a big hunky-dory about Jackson in the summer when he was scoring goals in the pre-season and all sorts. And now all of a sudden, oh, it's time. Come on, like we need to wake up. Like we need to start.
Hold up, dude.
Absolutely. Everybody who's locked in, man, that's been a good debate show, man. Honestly, 1 hour just flew by just like that, man. So that's what happens, man. It's not always shouting and it's not always, screaming on the head top. We can have a balanced debate, especially international break now. There's no, animosity or rivalry. We can relax, everybody, international football. But Big up to everybody who's locked in. Make sure you follow the panel. Never a Foul Daps. Make sure you go follow him. I think you're live tonight, so make sure you follow him.
10 p.m. 10 p.m.
There you go. Blue Brother CFC. Big up to him. Make sure you follow him on his channel. Link in the description. Make sure you follow Loaded Magma, the best Newcastle channel out there. So make sure you follow them. And obviously Spurs Talk Show, man. I told you, man. Invest in them this season. Andrew, make sure you follow him. Spurs Talk Show and Goodally. Just follow him because he waffles in it. That's why you can follow him. But listen, big up to Lee. Big up to everybody who's here. And we'll catch you next week for the Premier League debate show. We're out.